Welcome to HDC classes, and today's topic is void function and non-void function. A very simple and easy to understand topic, but yes, it's a practical based topic. So after the completion of the theory portion, we will move to the practical in order to make yourself 110% clear. So without wasting any time, let's move to the topic. So what is this void function actually is? It's a function which does not return anything. Okay, it's a function which does not return anything. Okay guys, this particular term is very much important. So definitely non-void function is what? It's the exact opposite of void function. What does it mean? It means that non-void function is a function which will return something. Now what it will return, it's totally depend upon the programmer. Okay, it will return some value, and that value can be anything. It can be a string, or a tuple, dictionary. It can be anything. So it's totally depend upon the programmer. But the point is that since it's a theoretical portion, means what is a void function and non-void function. So as per theory, it's quite easy. A function which returns something is non-void, and function which does not return something is void. Now, one point to be added, that this non-void function is also known as fruitful function. Okay, guys. So fruitful function. So non-void function is also known as fruitful function. I hope this much is clear to you. Now we will move to the portion of how to write a void function and how to write a non-void function. It's very simple, you know. It's not at all a tough topic. It's a very simple topic, but yes, a very important topic too. Why? Because in class 12, whatever program you will write, you need to write it using functions. So as in class 11, whatever be the program given to you, you simply write the program, and the output is important, means the correct output should come, and that's all. But now in class 12, whatever be the program, it can be anything. So whatever be the program, you need to write it using function. And it may also be possible that the question asks you to write a void function, or it may ask you to write a non-void function. It's totally depend upon the question setup. But if it has not been written anything, means it's simply been given that you need to write a program, then in that case you may go for any of the approach. Means either you can go for void function or you can go for non-void function. It's totally depend upon you. Okay, but yes, we need to understand both the approaches. So how to write a void function, how to write a non-void function, that's the important point. So let's move to that particular topic. So simply first I will try to write a void function, because writing void function is quite simple. Even non-void function is simple too. But yes, we need to start from one of the points. So I'm taking void function as the first topic in order to create it. Now, the function which I will be defining in this class is a function which will find minimum between two numbers. Again, this is a very simple code. We have already written this particular code in class 11. But the point is that you need to write the same code using function. So how we will do that? And that function need to be a void function. So these two conditions are is important. To know, you can say one condition, that it should be a void function. So how to write that? Let's focus into it. So as I told you that a void function is a function which does not return anything. So how we can specify that it will not return something? But and the answer totally lies within this particular keyword, return keyword. Okay, so this is the keyword which actually tells us whether that function is a void function or a non-void function. Okay, if this particular keyword is present within the function, and if it is returning something, try to understand, it's a very important point. If it is present within the function and if it is returning something, then it's a non-void function, or you can say it's a fruitful function. But if it is not present in the function, then you can blindly, means by closing your eyes, you can say that it's a void function, or yeah, it's a void function. But yes, another important point, that it may be possible that in the void function this return keyword is present, but the condition is that it is not returning anything. I know you're not you didn't get this particular point. I will make you clear once I will write the code. Okay, so as I told you that I will be writing a code which will simply find the minimum between two numbers, and it's a very simple code. So without wasting any time, let's move to the writing of the function. Now whatever I will be writing, it will be a full-fledged code. Means how to call this function. As I've told you in the introductory class, that we have a topic called calling the function, means how we can utilize that function within our main program. Now this particular term is also important. I have just used this term main. Okay, I just want to briefly introduce this particular topic too. So what is this main? This main is simply is a portion where the execution of the program starts. Okay, it's a function where the execution of the program starts. So whatever be the program we have written in class 11, we have directly written in main. We are not aware of it, but yes, we were writing those codes in main. So what is the significance of main? The significance of main is that the execution starts from here only. Okay, the execution starts from here only. Now in other programming languages such as you can say C, C++, Java, you need to explicitly write this particular main function. Okay, in case of C, C++, you write int main, void main, and in case of Java, we basically write public static void main. So why? Because in order to start the program, in order to start the execution of that particular program. But in case of Python, we don't specify this main. Why? Because we are simply writing those code in the main only. So we don't explicitly specify this main. But yes, this main is right now important to us while writing functions. Why? Because functions are a separate part, means it's a sub program. It's not a part of the main program. We need to utilize that sub program within our main program. And how we can do that? Using the concept of function call. Okay, we will simply call this function from main. And after calling this function from main, we will be able to utilize that function. Okay, I know this particular whatever I have told you right now maybe abstract to you, but once I will show you these things in program in my computer, then definitely you will get this particular point. But it's important before starting, you should have a knowledge, you should have this knowledge of this term main function call, so that you can understand it very well. So now let's start writing the void function. Okay, so let's start. So first, it's important to write the def keyword in order to specify that I am going to write a function. I am going to define a function. So def, after writing def, we need to specify the name of the function. So as I have told you in my previous video, that the name should be something like, after reading that particular name, I should get an idea of what this function is going to do. So I will write the names such as main to num. And again, in this case too, I am not going to specify the parameter list. Why? Because I want to keep this particular function as simple as I can. Why? And yes, you may argue with me that specifying parameter list makes the program or makes the function complex. No, not at all. But since I've done given you any of the information related this parameter list or parameters, how to define parameters or what type of parameters we have, that's why I'm keeping this particular parameter list as empty right now. But yes, in upcoming videos when we will discuss these parameters, then I'm going to show you how to use it while writing the program. Okay, so as of now, I'm going to give this particular parameter list as empty. So fine. So this is the function header. Now we will move to the function body. Now whatever be the code we have written in class 11, we have directly written those code in main. Now we need to write those code, same type of code in the function body only, and nothing else. So this is the thing. So as I've told you that whatever be the program you will be writing in class 12, you should write those programs using functions. So student get complex how to write it. It's not at all a complex thing. You know the code. You have written those type of code in class 7. Now you need to write those code in the function body and simply call that function. That's all. Okay. So I will be writing the same code which you have written in class 7, and this logic is quite simple. It's not at all a tough program. So first I need to define a variable number. I'm defining it as number. So int input, considering an input number, and guys, it's for you. Write the message whatever you want, depends upon you. So now num2 int input, and again message, totally up to you. Now I get two numbers, num1 num2. So user has given me the number. Now it's time to find out which one of them is a minimum one. So for that I will be using relational operator. Obviously there is no other option of finding the minimum of it. Yes, we have another one, is that by subtracting it to, we can get the idea of whether which one of them is a minimum one. But yes, relational operator is a better approach for me. I think it will be a better approach. But yes, we can write the same code by different ways, so it's totally depend upon you. So this one is not the only approach. I should tell you that this one is not the only approach. So I'm going to use the relational operator. So if and conditional statement, yes, definitely. If num1 is less than num2, then I will simply write print minimum min comma num1. Okay, fine. Else print min num2. Simple. Now you may argue with me that if both the numbers are equal, then how we can say that which one is minimum? So for that I can simply add this equals to operator, which will help me to solve that particular problem, that if both the numbers are equal. So if num1 less than equals to num2, then we can say num1 is minimum, or else num2 is minimum. Quite simple. Now I have written the code. It's not a full-fledged code. I have just written the function, and this particular function is a void function. Now how we can say that it's a void function? As I've told you that the presence of the return statement, within a function defines that it can be a void function, and it cannot be a void function. So how we can say that it's a void function? When that return statement does not returning anything. Clear? Now what is the significance of return statement? Return statement simply terminates the function or nothing else. It simply terminates the function, okay, and helps us to return something if we want to. Okay, now since as we can see within this particular program, you may argue with me that this from this program we are able to find the minimum. It's printing. Yes, it's printing. We are getting the output, but it's not returning. Why? Because there is no return statement present within it. So as you can see in this particular program, is there any return statement there? No. Since there is no return statement, so you can say that you can safely say that it's a void function. Clear? Fine. Now the second point, if return statement is present, something like this, return, okay, still now it's a void function. Why? Because I simply write the return statement, but I'm not returning anything. So after giving a space, if I return something, or if I return, it can be any value. If I return something like just I return ASDG, my channel's name, ASDG, then now it's not a void function. It's a non-void function, or you can say it's a fruitful function. Clear? I hope you are getting my point. It's not at all a complex topic. Okay, just try to understand. Return, there's a space, and after that, what the value which I want to return. If something is present like this within a function, then you can say it's a non-void function, or you can say a fruitful function. Clear? But if I omit this particular part, if I remove this particular part, I've simply written return. Okay, I've simply written the return keyword and nothing else. I'm not returning anything. Now this is still, now it's a void function. And if I remove this particular return keyword, then you can safely say that it's a void function. So writing a void function is quite simple. Okay. So what is this again? Again telling this particular thing. So how to write a void function? In order to write a void function, you can follow two approach. You can simply omit the return keyword first, or if you want to specify the return keyword, you are free to do it, but you should not specify any value after it. Now if you specify, then it will become a what? It will simply become a non-void function or fruitful function. Clear? Fine. Now second question is, as I told you that the presence of return keyword helps us to return something if we want to, or it helps us to terminate the function. So since, as we can see from this particular function, the last statement is return. Okay, so after getting this particular statement, it will simply terminate the function. So it will come out from the function. Clear? Now what happens if the return keyword is not present? So how it will terminate? After the execution of the last statement, once the last statement of this particular function gets executed, it will simply terminate this particular function. Okay. Now second important point, how many return keyword need to be present within the, how many return keyword can be present within a function? The answer is more than one. Okay, 0 or more. Okay, so yes, as we can see here, we don't have any return statement. So still the function is working fine. It will still working fine. It will not, now since I didn't call this function, so it will not work. I need to call this function from the main. So then only it can work. But the point is, are you able to see any return keyword within this function body? The answer is no. So the answer is, how many return statement a function can have? 0 or more. Okay. So I will show you. How once I will be writing a fruitful function, I will use two return keyword. Okay. So I hope you are getting my point how to write a void function. It's quite simple, it's quite easy, not at all a tough topic. Okay. So I have declared my function. This is my body, or you can say this code, which will help me to find out the minimum. Now I need to call the function. And how will I call this function? This particular line shows the indentation. So within the indentation of the div, I need to write the name of the function, min to num. So this particular is what? This particular thing is a function call. So this is the function call. And function call from where? From the main. Okay, this is the function call. So once I will call this function, this particular code will execute and it will simply give me the minimum between two numbers. I hope you got my point. Now I will show you one thing. So if I want to take some value from a void function, what will happen? What type of output we will get? I will show you that particular thing in my computer, means directly in practical session. So it will make you understand what type of output we get if we want to take something from the void function. Okay. So this is what a void function is, how to write a void function in order to find the minimum between two numbers. Now I will simply write a non-void function, or you can say a fruitful function, for this same code. And how will I do that? Simply by removing this particular statement and this particular statement, and here I will write return num1. Okay, here I will write return num1. So if num1 is less than equals to num2, then the minimum is what? Is the minimum is num1. So I will return num1. So else I will return num2. Now guys, try to understand this particular code. I have simply changed this particular portion. Here what I have written? I have written print. Now I have removed that particular statement. I have written return num. Return num1. Why? Because I know that num1 is the minimum between these two numbers, num1 and num2. So I am returning to whom? I am returning the value in the main, and there should be someone who should accept this particular value. So suppose res, I am writing res, and res I am writing within the same indentation. So I will here I will print the minimum is res. Simple. Now you may argue with me, if I don't give this particular res equals to, so what will happen? Nothing will happen. The value will come, but there is no one to accept that particular value, and the code will run. It will simply run, but you won't be getting any minimum between these two numbers, because there is no one to accept this particular value. Why? What it will do? It will simply return. Means if suppose num1 is 5 and num2 is 10. So I know that 5 is less than 10. So this particular num1, which is 5, will get it will get written here. So 5 will come here and it will get assigned to res, and the value of res will get printed as 5. Simple. I hope you are getting my point. It's quite simple, very simple. And the observation point is that I have written something after return keyword. I am returning a value. And what type of value I am returning? I am returning a integer value. But the point is that after the return keyword, I have specified something, and that specification actually makes this particular function a fruitful function. And that's all. And that's the topic only. It's completed, completed. How to write a fruitful function, how to write a void function, it's done. So I hope you got my point, what I want to tell you, how to write a void function, how to write a fruitful function. But yes, not to take too much of pressure, because I will just right now go to the practical portion of it in order to show you the same thing. I will show you the same thing in practicals, so that you will be able to visualize the things in a much more better way, and nothing else. Okay. Yes, at the same time, it's my request to you. I've written minimum of 2 numbers, but you in your home should try different types of functions. Write the same function, write the same code using a void function and using a non-void function. Everything lies within this return keyword. Okay. If you write this return keyword, and if you specify something, then it will become what? It will become a fruitful function or a non-void function. And if you simply specify the return keyword and you don't specify the statement, or you don't specify the value which you want to return, means you have simply written this particular keyword return, or you have omitted that particular keyword return, then definitely that particular function is a void function. And that's all. It's a very simple topic, Very simple topic. So I hope you got my point in this theory portion. Now let's move to the practical portion of it. Thank you. So guys, let's start the practical portion of today's class. So the code which I will be writing, I need to write it in the script mode. Why? Because in script mode we will be able to write a full-fledged code. And why we will not be able to write the code here? Because it's an interactive mode. So interactive mode is something like whatever be the statement we will give, it will give us the output of it. Means something like an interaction. But in order to write a full-fledged code, we need to write it in the script mode. So let's open the script mode, file, new file. So the window which gets opened is the script mode. So here I will be writing the full code. So as I told you in the during the theory portion that today I will be writing a code which will help me to find out minimum between two numbers. So let's start. But before starting it, as I also told you that what will happen if we try to accept something from a void function. So we will look into that particular portion too. Why? Because that type of questions comes in exam. So it's very important for us to understand what value we get from a void function if we try to accept something from it. Okay. So first I will try to write a void function, and after that I will also show you the how to write the non-void function. So let's start. So first write def, and after that let's define the name of the function. So mean to num. So here I am also specifying the parameter list as empty, just in order to keep the things as simple. So now num1, so int input. So here I need to give the message. So let's give the message, enter number 1. So now let's write int second variable, which will help me to take the second input from the user, second number, or you can say, so enter number 2. Fine, simple. So number 2. Okay. So from this particular statement, this two statement will help me to take input from the user. Quite simple. Now it's time to write the code, means the particular snippet which will help me to find the minimum between two numbers. So if num1 is less than equals to num2, then I will be printing that minimum is obviously num1, else minimum is num2. Simple code. Now I have written the function, but I told you during the theory portion that in order to use the function I need to call it from the main. Okay, so let me save this particular code and execute it, and let's see what type of output we will get from this program. So Control S, function F5. So I need to write the file name. Let's me write is minimum 2. Okay, so Control S, function F5. Wow, nothing. And that's what I want to tell you. Do I am getting any output? The answer is no. I am not getting any output. And what is the reason behind it? Is that the reason behind is that I haven't called this function from the main. Okay, now how will I get to know that which part is the main? This first indentation, this main indentation. Are you able to see this cursor? Whatever code you will write from this first indentation will be the part of the main. Now you may argue with me that is this particular code is not in the main. No, this particular code is not in the main. Why? Because are you able to see, are this particular code is in this main is within this indentation? The answer is no. It is within the indentation of this particular function. So it's not a part of the main. But in order to make this as a part of the main, I need to call this particular function from the main. So before calling it, let me print something from the main, and let's see what type of output we will get. So print here I am in main. So if I write this particular code, and let's see what type of output we will get. So yes, definitely this particular output only I will get. So here I am in main. And why this particular output I am getting? The answer is the reason behind it is that this particular line, or you can this particular statement is in the part of the main. That's why I'm getting this particular output. But if I specify this particular same statement in the body of the function mean to num, and if I execute this particular code, then I won't be getting any output. So I hope you got my point where's the mean lies. So let me remove this particular statement. Now it's time to what? We need to call the function. So how to call the function? Simply write the name of the function. So mean to num. So I have specified the name of the function. Since I have specified the name of the function from the main, the control will move to the function header, and from there it will try to execute this particular code. Quite simple. Okay, simply write this particular name of the function and nothing else. You need to specify the name of the function from the main. So after specifying this particular function, and if I execute this code, see the first statement gets executed. So are you able to understand it? So now okay, let me move. Okay, fine. So let's enter number 1. So let me enter number 1 as 5, enter number 2 as 10, and minimum is 5. Simple. So I hope you are getting my point that how to call a function. So this particular part is the function call. Function call from main. I hope this much is clear to you. And this particular code is what type of is of what type? It's a void function code. Okay, it's a void function. Why? Because this particular function is not returning anything. And how I am able to say that this particular function is not returning anything? Because of the absence of the return keyword, and which we have discussed in our theory portion. Now, since return keyword is not being specified, so you can say that this particular function is a void function. But if I specify the return statement, still now it's a void function. Why? Because I haven't specified anything here. So if I specify something here after the return keyword, if I specify something here, suppose if I specify ASTG, so then it will become what? It will become a void. It will become a non-void function, a fruitful function. But if I remove this particular part, and if I simply specify the return keyword and nothing else, so what it will do? It will simply terminate the function and nothing else, and it will still be a void function. I hope you are getting my point. So as I told you, that return statement is simply helps us to terminate the function, or it will help us to, and at the same time it will help us to return something if we want to. So here I have just specified the return keyword and nothing else. So it will simply terminate the function after execution of all this code. Okay. Now, so let me run this particular code again. So function f5, and again let me specify number 1 as 45 and number 2 as 5. Then as you can see, I think you are not able to see. Let me cut it and execute another one. Okay, fine. So enter number 1. So let me 45, number 2 is 5. So the minimum is 5. Again, it's a correct output. But the point is that how I am able to get this particular code, just because of the calling of this function. Simply write the name of the function and nothing else from the main. So this much is clear to you. But what will happen if I take something from the main? Okay, what value we will get from the function, from a void function? Okay, so let me accept something from this void function, and this particular question, this type of question comes in exam. So I'm accepting something from a void function, means a function which does not return anything. But I'm here, I have specified b equals to. So what does it means? That's min2 will going to give something to this, or it will going to assign something to this variable b. Now let's see what value is there within b. So print the value in b. Okay, let's see what value is there in b. So control S. Now let me remove the previous output. Okay, fine, done. So control S, function f5. So let me enter number 1 as 79 and number 2 as 55. So definitely 55 is minimum. So minimum is 55. But look at this particular statement. This is a very vital point. This is a very, very, very vital observation. Okay, and what is that observation? Once you try to accept something from a void function, very important, once you try to accept something from a void function, it will simply return you what? It will simply return you none. And that none, what is the meaning of none? What is the meaning of none? The meaning of none is absence of value. I hope from this particular statement you get my point, that what is a void function and what is a non-void function. So none means absence of value. So it indicates that this function is not going to return you anything. Since this function is not going to return you anything, that's why you are getting none. But if I remove this particular statement, let's see what value again we will get, and remove that previous code output. So okay, fine. So control S, function f5. So let me enter 74 and 102. Okay, so as we can see that the minimum is 74, means I didn't press the enter, but if I press it, then definitely the minimum will be 74. So let me press it. So yes, again. So what I have did is that I have removed that return keyword from here. Let me control Z. So this return keyword was there, I have removed it. So after removing it, again I am getting this particular output as none. Minimum is fine. How this minimum 74 is coming is just because of this particular checking. I am able to find the minimum. But this particular statement is quite important. What this particular statement is indicating, that if I want to accept something from the void function, then what output I will get from it? It's simply none. And it indicates that void function returns none. So if I want to accept something from the void function, it will simply give me none, and it will not give me any error. That's the important point. It will not give me any error. So that's all for the void function. Now let's move to the non-void function, a function which returns something. So what I will do, I will simply remove my previous code's output. No, let it be there. Why? Because it will help me to compare it with a void function and non-void function. Okay, so what I will do, I will simply remove this particular statement, and here I will write return num1, and remove this particular statement, and here I will write return num2. Fine. Now try to understand this particular program. Okay, so if I execute this particular program, if num1 is less than num2, then num1 values will get returned, and it will return to whom? It will return to B. Okay, it will try to return it to B. Fine. But if num1 is greater than num2, then num2 will be minimum, and in that case num2 will be returned to B. So I have written something for the acceptance value. Why? Because there should be something who will accept the value from the function min to num. Why? Because this min to num is now a fruitful function, and at the same time I want to make you observe this particular thing, that in a function I can write 0 or more return statement. 0 or more return statement. It's a very important observation, guys. Okay, so now let me execute this particular code. So in the value of B, so in the variable V, I will have the minimum value, minimum between this num1 and num2. So let me execute control S function f5. So let me enter the same number. So 74, let me enter 74 here, 74 and 102. Now see this particular statement. The value of B is now 74. It's not now none. In the previous case it was none. Why? Because that in that case it was a void function, but now in this case it's not a void function, it's a fruitful function, a function which returns something, and it is returning the minimum. But if I remove this particular portion, then what will happen? And I need to remove this too. Why? Because if I specify this, then it will be asking me, it will raise an error and tell me name error, B is not defined. So it's better to remove this particular statement too. Now see what happens. Control S function f5. So since okay, it's better to remove this previous output. Okay, I want to kill it. Okay, now executing it again. So let me write 48 and 50. Do I get any output? The answer is no. And what is the reason behind it is that the reason is there is no one to accept the value from it. Since no one is there, but the code is executed. The code has successfully executed, but since there is no one there to accept the value from the function min to num, since it is returning something, but there is no one, and since there is no one, and that's why I'm not printing anything, but the code has successfully executed, and that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting. Let me show you the output. Yes, 48, 50, but no output. Who is the minimum one? So if I simply accept something like this in the previous one, res equals to min to num, and if I print the value of res, so res will contain the minimum value. So control s function fl, and if I specify 48, okay, 50 48, enter 50. Now see, I'm getting the minimum value, and whose value is this? It's the value of the function. It's the value of the function being returned, and in this case it's 48. Yeah, so the value gets returned to res. Res is the variable, and I have printed that particular res value, and that's what is a fruitful function or non-void function. So I hope you have understood this particular class and able to find out the difference between what a void function and non-void function is. And yes, in the practical portion I have clarified all the important point, covered all the important points. So I hope you have understood it very well. So that's all for today. Let's meet you in the next video. Thank you very much.